Hey
Okay.
everybody, this is Chuck Marone with Strong Towns, coming at you with a new thing from SID TV, See It Differently TV. We have for quite a while wanted to use the technology of the Google Hangout to bring in some interesting people and share some interesting thoughts and ideas. I got an email a couple weeks ago from a guy named Spencer Boomhower who's in Portland, Oregon, and he sent me just some absolutely fascinating work. And I thought, you know what? If you're up to it, Spencer, let's have you be our very first guest on SID TV. Here you are. Welcome to the TV show, Spencer.
Well, thanks very much. I'm really happy to be here. I'm a big fan of the podcast, and I'm so thrilled that you're enthusiastic about the work. And I think we should be able to show some of it here on screen, and that'd be
Well,
great.
perfect. That's what I'm hoping to do because what you sent me really is, and I'll put it in my terms, and then you can describe it in your terms. What you really sent me was a mashup between all the urban planning kind of sketchy kind of stuff and video games. And I had actually years and years ago saw some students do this where they took some video game technology and did just an incredible mashup where they very quickly started doing renderings. The stuff you
Right.
sent me was vastly beyond what they did. And
Oh,
I'm really excited to share with people today. You want to kind of go over what it is you do and how you put this stuff together?
yeah. Very generally, my background is in video games, and my main medium is real-time 3D, which is basically the 3D that you see in video games. It's very interactive. You can build a place and run through it. You can make a character and send the character through the place. Um, so it's, and I've always had an interest in sort of like the quality of places and, what makes a place livable, but also worked on video games. And as often the case, I look at this medium I'm working in and see, this would be so great for talking about all these other things. So yeah, the thing that I was showing you was kind of the culmination of an idea I'd had where you know I've certainly seen plenty of fly-throughs and videos of places, and just had this feeling that and you see plenty of cross sections of streets. And here's a street in Portland that had the potential for having some really good bike infrastructure, but it'd be the kind of thing people have a hard time seeing. So I'll
Well,
just
even as I think even as a kid, you're a little bit younger than me, Spencer. I grew up playing Atari, and we had like Enduro, the little car game,
yeah.
and the background scenes and all that. There's got to be some really fantastic software and approaches that allows you to create those that really the planning profession doesn't have access to, and or if they do, we're just not using.
Yeah, I would think so. And even the thing that I showed you, I could just load it up right now if you want to
Yeah, go ahead and load it
throw
up.
it on the
I'd
screen.
love people to be able to see that.
Okay. Um, yeah, so this is basically a tour of this, the cross section of the street called Foster Road, and it takes you through all these views, shows you what it's like to ride a bicycle on the street right now. Yeah, right up on screen here, it looks good. And yeah, so it just takes you through with kind of a lot of description of what's going on, and talks about how there's they want to put a bike lane in, but how this may not be appropriate for every rider still. It may not be, if you assume, like, what's it like for a kid to ride, this gives you an idea of that. So then we open up the possibility of what about a cycle track? And, there happens to be plenty of space on this street for something like this. It's just a matter of having the will and the money to do the extra work. So this takes you through this whole tour that's fairly linear, but then you get to an interactive mode that shows you the cross section that was done by the designers of this work, and lets you jump to, what's the view from a bicycle? What's the view roughly from a car? What's it like to walk down the street? And then, here's what it's like currently. Here's what it's like if you had a bike lane over there, and then to the cycle track. So sort of an idea, just being able to jump between the different designs and
That's really incredible, man.
then jump between the different views, so you get each user's take on it. No, thanks. Thanks very much. Yeah, I mean, there's this kind of thing where I think it's like I see so many opportunities for this to be really, really useful.
Let me ask you this, because I envision, I've been to these charrettes where you sit around and you draw different things, and
Yeah.
people try to imagine what, one approach or another looks like. How quick and easy are some of these adaptations to do? Like how, if you dropped into a community and take a look at a street, how long would it take to actually come up with a model like this where you could look at different people's perspectives and tweak different approaches?
Well, I think it comes down. It's pretty quick if I have the resources to do it. Like I had to scratch up a lot of cars and stuff to do for this particular version. But if I have, if somebody can hand me a model of what it is they're looking at, that's a lot quicker. If I have to kind of come up with some sort of mock-up of storefronts, it takes a little while. But I could see something like this. I hate to be too optimistic because this stuff always can take a little bit longer. But you can see within like a week or something having something sort of whipped up, as long as you're using fairly generic elements. I could show you the other thing that I wanted to.
Let's switch
that I was working on. So here's a new one that I'm working on, and this is, in this case, I just went and bought from. This program is called the Unity 3D, and it's a very powerful game engine a lot of independent developers are using. And they have a store where you can just go and buy stuff. So it's sort of like a train set. You can just go and buy the little corner diner. Are you getting this okay then?
It's beautiful. It looks really fantastic.
Yeah, it's really neat. And then you can just kind of plop this stuff down. So this little scene that was already, the pieces were already built for me. The little sidewalk pieces and stuff were already built. I plopped this together in like a day, basically. And how much? There we go. I've got my nice shadows. It's like how much time do you want to sink into something like these buildings? If I had to build them myself, would take a month, 2 months, something like that. Sure. But if all you're looking at is sort of the relative, and this is what I think is kind of the core thing, is sort of the relative spatial relationships between pedestrian space and right of way, and how much space goes to cars, how much goes to bikes. And if you want to jump between that interactively, I think that's where the real power is. And like you saw in that other one, you don't need full-on high fidelity graphics. But anyways, this is what I wanted to show you here. I've been playing with this interactive end of it where I this is I think about a 66-foot right away. But if you're starting with something bigger, I just have an interaction for changing it and saying, okay, well, we got about this much space to work with.
Wow.
What can we do? Do we have this tiny little sidewalk?
Wow.
I got my little walker guy there who kind of walked off screen, but and then I can switch between that's kind of right in the car. This is a work in progress, so it's not quite perfect, but you can go, okay, what's it feel like to have a bigger and bigger sidewalk? Could we plop a bike lane in there in the cycle track mode like that other one? Is that, of course, then that gets kind of crazy with the car view, so you get this tiny little, but you get rid of that center line, and then, so I was looking at this and I was just thinking, well, that is kind of crazy. I have the option to just sort of put stops on things so you don't end up with weird things overlapping each other, like the car overlapping the other car, but I don't know, I put it to this extreme and I thought, well, what if a street, what if a city really wanted this much real estate for their sidewalks? maybe they turn a 2-lane road into a 1-lane road because nobody ever wants to give up parking, but maybe they'd give up a lane. Who knows? But and that's the thing. It's like this stuff is usually it's gets some public input, but it's usually just the decisions are made from on high, and nobody really ever gets to try a different. Oops, there goes my guy walking into the void here.
I got to tell you, you are blowing my mind. This is really fantastic. And I mean, I had kind of a sense of what you could do, but I wasn't sure how it was going to work out. And just that notion of widening the street, narrowing the street, just kind of at a whim. What a powerful device. I can see planners all over salivating over that kind of visualization.
I should give credit where credit is due. The Foster plan was done, kind of initiated by my friend Nick Falbo, who runs a site called Foster United. It's a neighborhood site. I'm trying to approach this kind of dynamic level of interactivity that they have, but in this real-time space. Because for me, the challenge that I saw was, you get charrettes, you get maps and cross sections and stuff, but I mean, I work in 3D, so it's like my whole way of working is to take 2D elements and kind of conceive of the 3D from them. But I have a hard time looking at cross sections, getting a sense of what a street will really feel like. And the whole point here is to say, well, what would it be like if you take the trees away? How does that feel? And what if is there room for a bike lane? I could put my cyclist on here and have her go down, and you could go down the road here, and and get a sense, is that too crowded? Would you not want to be riding a bike there, or would you feel better about a child riding on this and on the street? There are other cycle track designs. I mean, you get all those great designs that people go to, Amsterdam and Copenhagen, and they come back just,
right,
fusing about, and it's you could pop something like that in here. I guess apparently they don't use the cycle track design so much. They put them on the street, and a lot of people object to, having whatever parked cars in between the bikes and the road, and that kind of thing. And then you have to deal with the intersection treatments, which I of course don't have right here, but I could. It's just a matter of putting that time into it.
Let me do one disclaimer.
Okay.
Just because the engineer in me looks at this, and I know how other engineers are going to look at it. They're going to say, well, Spencer, your traffic flow volumes don't meet the real world volumes, and it's incredible to me because we literally spend millions and millions of dollars doing these traffic simulations to model something that is essentially random almost, and the value that those have from a public discourse standpoint is that they show people how things will work. I'm looking at this thinking, we can show people in much more vivid detail how this stuff is going to work and look, and actually give them some parameters they can tweak and show them, real quickly, like how different scenarios would play out, and let them almost, tweak them themselves in a charrette setting or something like that.
Yeah. This
seems much more powerful than, the attempt at traffic modeling, which I know the engineers are all going to get mad at me, and they're going to say, well, that serves a completely different function. Yet the function that it serves from a public discourse standpoint is not to show that you can have 5 cars stack up in a row, but to actually show people what it will look like. And this is incredibly powerful.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think it could be really really useful. And I mean, I listened to your podcast and hear you talked about those issues, and I think you were describing, was it Kansas City, and how the flow of traffic it's going fast, but it's stopping at every block. So you get this effective speed of about 30 miles per hour or something. Yeah. So I mean, I think you could have something like this where it's like, there's my little guy walking down the street here, um, where you show those kind of things, and you can kind of compare that. I mean, because there's some value to traffic flow, of course, but there's also value to not accommodating traffic flow. And I mean, one kind of gets the weight of the argument. So yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's what I could really imagine it being.
No, when I'm
powerful.
looking at that guy walking down the street, I kind of think like he's gonna punch somebody or something, or it's gonna be
Well,
someone's gonna do a drive-by or something. I've seen too many of the Grand Theft Auto or something.
Too much Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a prepackaged video game character from a site called Rocketbox, I believe, and it's a prepackaged animation. So yeah, I kind of work with what I got. But hey,
Yeah.
just because it's a friendly street doesn't mean everybody on the street is going to be friendly. You're gonna have your cranks. They hang out at the diner here.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, before we run out of time or anything, I want to mention the site that I was talking about is called StreetMix. This is not mine. I don't have anything to do with this, but it's been kind of making the rounds. And
dude, I used it today
for
Monday's blog post. I used StreetMix today, and it's absolutely just incredible. I want to say Code for America helped put that together, but I could be mistaken about that. But it's a really powerful site.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I did play with it a bit, and yeah, it's super powerful the way you can tweak things and so dynamically. And I don't have nearly that kind of level of interaction here, but that's basically I started with that Foster simulation that I showed you before, and started riffing off that, going, how could I make it prettier? How can I make it more appealing? More realistic, and also more dynamic realized I could do some of that streets mix approach here. So I just wanted to make sure that I give credit where credit is due.
Absolutely, it's awesome.
Spencer, by the way, one more thing I want to show you, if we just go.
Yeah.
Because there's the whole Taco John's, the relative value of places. It's very easy to put a layer of information on here. So I was playing with the right of way, and I think I could dynamically throw up text that says, here's the right of way size. But I think you could also get this layer of information going where, I just slapped in some text here, but where you could kind of go, well, what's the value of this block from that point of view? You can kind of slice up the information in all these different ways.
Dude,
from the aesthetic
that's pretty cool.
No, thanks.
Taco John's. So we should do a model of Taco John's. Do you want to see something kind of embarrassing today?
Sure. Wait,
look at where I went for lunch.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that Taco John's?
It is Taco John's. It's the closest place to our office, and I had to get back quick to chat with you, so I actually went and grabbed a taco from Taco John's.
Nothing wrong with that, I'm sure. Not like
Spencer, if people want to get hold of you, where can they go?
I have a new site called Cupola Media. I think I got my logo on the desktop here. If you can see hey, there we go.
Oh yeah.
So that's where we're kind of branching off this simulation stuff from the video game work I've done. So I'm at Spencer@cupolamedia.com, and
I'll put those links and make sure that's all available up on our website too.
Okay, great.
Hey Spencer, thanks so much. This has been awesome. I can't wait to share it with people. Great.
I'm really thrilled. I'm so glad to hear that you're into it, and I'm glad it's gonna get seen and appreciated.
Well, let's keep in touch, and the next time you put a new simulation together, send me an email and we'll do this again.
Okay, and I can even send you a link to the simulation if you want to play with it a bit.
Dude,
I'll make it a little bit more user-friendly, and
that would be a ton of fun.
Okay, great.
All right. Thanks, man. Take care.
Thank you, Chuck. Bye-bye.
Yep, see ya.